Evolution of the Indian economy, pre- and post-liberalization PRD. On August 15, 1947, India began its journey as a sovereign nation. The task of nation-building now rested in the hands of Indian leaders. Leaders like Nehru sought a balanced economic system, favoring a socialist model allowing private property and democracy. This led to the Industrial Policy Resolution of 1948 and the directive principles in the Constitution advocating a mixed economy. The Planning Commission, established in 1950, marked the start of India's five-year plans. Post-liberalization, the Indian economy has undergone a remarkable transformation, opening to global markets and boosting sectors like IT and services. It has evolved from a colonial, agrarian economy grappling with poverty and low industrial growth to one of the fastest-growing major economies. State of the Indian economy at the time of independence. When India gained independence in 1947, it inherited an economy that had been shaped by over 2 centuries of colonial rule under the British East India Company and the British Raj. This legacy had left the Indian economy in a precarious state marked by structural imbalances, stagnant productivity, and widespread poverty. Colonial exploitation. The British viewed India as a source of inexpensive raw materials and a market for their goods. Invested little in India's infrastructure or industries. Economic indicators. In 1950-51, the average income per person in India was a mere 240 rupees, literacy was less than 17%, and high birth and death rates were indicative of poor healthcare and nutrition. Agrarian economy. Despite 75% of the population being engaged in agriculture, India was not self-sufficient in food grain production. Industrial underdevelopment. Industrial activity was minimal and was primarily concentrated in cities like Calcutta and Bombay. Poverty. Low income led to limited savings, which resulted in insufficient investment. This, in turn, led to low production and income, perpetuating a cycle of poverty. Lack of infrastructure. Infrastructure for banking, insurance, transport, communications, and power was severely lacking. To combat these challenges, India decided to simultaneously develop agriculture, industry, and infrastructure, leading to the launch of the first five-year plan in April. History of planning in India. Economic planning in India started after independence in 1950 when it was deemed necessary for the economic growth and development of the nation with socio-economic objectives. To address above-mentioned issues, various plans published before and after independence such as Visvesvarya Plan, 1934 proposed by M. Visvesvarya. This plan focused on shifting workers from agriculture to industrial sectors. FYBMS Proposal, 1934. The Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, FYBMS, stressed the need for planning and the role of the state in the economy. Congress Plan, 1938. The National Planning Committee was formed by Subhash Chandra Bose under the chairmanship of Jawaharlal Nehru. It aimed to establish an economic plan ensuring a decent standard of living for the public. At pre-war prices, the committee estimated a minimum income of 15 rupees to 25 rupees per capita per month. Bombay Plan, 1944 proposed by industrialists like Tata and Birla. This plan focused on industrial growth, state intervention in strategic sectors, support for MSMEs, full employment, and reducing income inequality and regional disparities. Gandhian Plan, 1944 authored by Shriman Narayan Agarwal, focusing on small-scale production and agriculture in line with Gandhian economic principles. The plan highlighted economic decentralization through self-sufficient villages and cottage industries. The People's Plan, 1945 drafted by M.N. Roy. This plan aimed to meet the immediate basic needs of the Indian people within a 10-year time frame. Pre-liberalization PRD. During PRD, the Indian government pursued a state-led, inward-looking economic model with a high degree of state intervention, extensive regulation, and a focus on import substitution. Industrialization. Planned economic model. India adopted this model to achieve balanced growth and reduce poverty. This approach involved systematic planning and allocation of resources to various sectors of the economy. 5-year plans. These plans played a crucial role in shaping India's economic policies. They focused on developing both the private and public sectors, aiming to create a strong foundation for industrialization. Each plan spanned 5 years and outlined specific goals for economic and social development. Mahalanobis model and self-reliance. The model emphasized the establishment of basic and capital goods industries. The goal was to build a self-reliant economy, reducing dependence on imports, and promoting domestic production. Green Revolution and agricultural reforms. The Green Revolution started in 1968, transformed Indian agriculture. Involved the use of high-yielding variety seeds, irrigation facilities, and pesticides and fertilizers. The Green Revolution made India self-sufficient in food, grains. It saw a 70% increase in farmers' incomes and benefited agricultural sectors. Haryana and Uttar Pradesh. New industrial policies. Mainly in Punjab. Industrial Policy Resolution IPR 1948, it established India as a mixed economy where both the public and private sectors could coexist, with industries classified into 4 categories. Industrial Policy Resolution IPR 1956, also known as the Economic Constitution of India, it classified industries into 3 sectors, public, mixed, and private, emphasizing the development of heavy industries and the expansion of the public sector. Industrial Policy 1977. This policy extended the 1956 policy, prioritized small-scale industries, aimed at wealth distribution and job creation, introduced a core sector for strategic industries such as defense, atomic energy, and rail transport, and promoted decentralization. Industrial Policy of 1980, it aimed to promote economic federation, increase the efficiency of the public sector, and reverse the trend of industrial production of the past years. The above development can be categorized into the following phases. Key developments. India adopted a state-led development approach. 1951 to 1969, the government mobilized resources toward industry and core sectors. However, social sectors like health and education received delayed funding due to the focus on industrialization. Wars and other events occasionally disrupted resource allocation. Private capital began to emerge. 1970 to 1973, the government formed joint ventures with the private sector. It aimed to start industries in areas where the private sector had yet to venture. Due to a lack of technical knowledge or finances, the government partially opened up the economy to foreign investment. Foreign capital was allowed in sectors open to private enterprises but with restrictions. Phase 3. 1974 to 1990 only technology transfer was allowed as a mode of investment, and there was a cap on the total value. Direct or indirect foreign investment, such as FDI/FII, was barred. Even foreign investment in sectors controlled by the government was restricted. This phase had its challenges, and the South Asian economies that opened up more broadly for investment flourished, earning the nickname Asian Tigers. India's experience was unique due to its democratic setup and the need to balance various interests. The subsequent phases continued to shape India's economic trajectory. Post-liberalization PRD, 1991 onwards. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, India grappled with economic challenges such as high debt, inflation, slow GDP growth, and a balance of payment (BOP) crisis. To address these issues, the Indian government introduced the new industrial policy of 1991, commonly known as the LPG reforms. The key components of this policy were: the government reduced its control over businesses. Liberalization. Industrial licensing requirements were abolished for most industries, allowing entrepreneurs to start or close firms without government permission. The Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices (MRTP) Act was replaced by the Competition Act 2002 to promote healthy competition and industry expansion. The private sector's role was enhanced. Privatization. Industries previously reserved for the government were opened up to private enterprises. This led to better management, efficient resource utilization, and increased competitiveness. India's economy was integrated with the world economy. Globalization. Barriers to the export and import of goods and services were removed. Indian firms gained access to global markets, but foreign corporations could also compete in previously protected Indian markets. The primary objectives of these reforms were to create a favorable business environment, attract foreign investment, privatize public sector enterprises, deregulate interest rates, reduce tariff and non-tariff barriers on imports, and devalue the Indian rupee. These changes aim to empower market forces and enhance overall efficiency, marking a significant departure from the earlier license Raj system. India's economic reforms, a decade of transformation, 2014 to 24. From 2014 to 2024, India underwent substantial economic reforms, transitioning from a fragile to a robust economy through a series of policy decisions, reforms, and initiatives. Key reforms implemented during this PRD include financial sector reforms. The government focused on restoring the financial sector, easing business conditions, and augmenting physical and digital infrastructure. This included recapitalization and merger of public sector banks, amendment of the Sarfaci Act 2002, and enacting the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code 2016, IBC. Regulatory framework simplification. Regulatory frameworks were simplified, including the enactment of the Real Estate Regulation and Development Act. Taxation reforms. The taxation ecosystem underwent substantial changes, including the adoption of a unified goods and services tax, GST, reducing corporate and income tax rates, and removing the dividend distribution tax. Private sector engagement. The government transitioned to engage the private sector as a co-partner in development. This included reviving the disinvestment policy, introducing a new public sector enterprise (PSE) policy, and liberalizing the FDI policy. MSME sector reforms. Progressive reforms were introduced for the micro, small, and medium enterprises (MSME) sector, including the Emergency Credit Line Guarantee Scheme (ECLGS) and the introduction of the Trade Receivables Electronic Discounting System (TREDS). Infrastructure development. Large-scale public spending was made to address infrastructure and logistics barriers. This included programs for road connectivity, Bharatmala, port infrastructure, Sagarmala, electrification, railways, upgradation, and new airports air routes, UDAN. Digitalization reforms. Through digitalization reforms, technology and digital platforms have been instrumental in creating digital identities, enhancing financial access, and accelerating economic growth in India. Preamble to the Indian Constitution. Meaning, historical background, components, significance, and more. Last updated on January 24, 2025. Posted on January 14, 2025 by Next IAS Team 194571. The preamble to the Indian Constitution refers to the introduction or preface to the Indian Constitution. As a text containing the essence of the Constitution, it is a reflection of the nation's identity, its democratic ethos, and its foundational principles. This article aims to explain the meaning of the preamble, its historical background, components, significance, and other aspects related to it. Meaning of the preamble to the Indian Constitution. The term preamble refers to the introduction or preface to the Constitution. It contains the summary or essence of the Constitution, along with the ideals and aspirations upon which the Indian state is founded. While describing the meaning of the preamble of Indian Constitution, eminent jurist N.A. Palkhivala has called it the identity card of the Constitution. Similarly, K. Munshi has described it as the political horoscope of the Constitution. Historical background. On December 13, 1946, Nehru moved the Objective Resolution in the Constituent Assembly. This resolution defined the basic goal or purpose of the Indian Constitution. It also acted as the guiding principle for the members of the Constituent Assembly in framing the Constitution. The same resolution was adopted as the preamble to the Indian Constitution on January 22. Text of the preamble. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign socialist secular democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and of opportunity and to promote among them all fraternity assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution. Features of Preamble of Indian Constitution. The Preamble of Indian Constitution is a concise and comprehensive introduction that outlines the philosophy and objectives of the Constitution. It highlights India's commitment to being a sovereign, socialist, secular, and democratic republic, ensuring independence, equality, and secular governance. The preamble guarantees justice, social, economic, and political liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and opportunity, and promotes fraternity to maintain national unity and individual dignity. It reflects the ideals and aspirations of the people and serves as the sole and guiding principle of the Constitution. As an integral part of the Constitution, it represents its spirit and purpose. Components of the Preamble. Source of authority for the Constitution. The Preamble states that the Constitution derives its authority from the people of India. Nature of Indian state. It declares India to be a sovereign, socialist, secular democratic and republican polity. Objectives of the Constitution. It specifies justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity as the objectives. Date of adoption of the Constitution. It stipulates November 26, 1949, as the date of its adoption. Key words in the preamble. We, the people of India. It is this phrase that affirms that the Constitution of India derives its authority and legitimacy from the people of India. This phrase states that the Constitution is not imposed by any external authority but is drafted and adopted by the people themselves, reflecting their collective will and aspirations. It signifies the power and responsibility vested in the citizens to govern themselves and participate in the democratic process. Sovereign. The word sovereign implies that India is neither dependent on nor dominated by any other country, but it is a self-governing state. No authority is above it, and it is free to manage its own external and internal affairs. Being a sovereign state, India can either acquire a foreign territory or cede a part of its territory in favor of a foreign state. Socialist. The word socialist implies that it envisions a socio-economic system where there is an equitable distribution of wealth, resources, and opportunities aiming to reduce economic inequalities among citizens. The Indian brand of socialism is a democratic socialism, wherein both private and public sectors coexist side by side. Secular. The word secular emphasizes the principle of religious neutrality and the separation of religion from the affairs of the state. The Indian Constitution embodies the positive concept of secularism, which means all religions in our country, irrespective of their strength, have the same status and support from the state. This principle fosters social harmony, tolerance, and respect for religious diversity in a pluralistic society like India. Democratic. The word democratic emphasizes the establishment of a government that is accountable to the people and operates based on the consent of the governed. The Indian Constitution provides for a representative parliamentary democracy under which the executive is responsible to the legislature for all its policies and actions. Universal voting rights for all adults, periodic elections, the supremacy of law, independence of the judiciary, and the absence of discrimination based on certain attributes are signs of the democratic nature of India's political system. The term democratic embraces not only political democracy but also social and economic democracy. Republic. The term republic signifies a form of government where the head of state is elected by the people or their representatives, rather than being hereditary or appointed based on lineage. It reflects the rejection of monarchy and the establishment of a political system based on democratic principles, where the authority of the government is derived from the consent of the governed. A republic also means two additional things. Political sovereignty is vested in the people rather than a single ruler, like a king. There is no privileged class, so all public offices are open to every citizen without any discrimination. Justice. The term justice signifies the commitment of the Indian state to ensure social, economic, and political justice for all its citizens. Social justice, it refers to the equal treatment of all citizens regardless of social distinctions like caste, color, race, religion, gender, etc. It means the absence of privileges for any particular group in society and improving conditions of backward classes, SCs, STs, and OBCs, and women. Economic justice, it denotes non-discrimination between people based on economic factors. It also involves the elimination of inequalities in income, wealth, and property. Political justice, it implies that all citizens should have equal political rights, equal access to all political offices, and equal voice in the government. The ideal of justice, social, economic, and political, has been taken from the Russian Revolution. Liberty. The term liberty means the absence of restraints on the activities of individuals, along with providing opportunities for individual growth and development. The preamble seeks to secure for all citizens the fundamental rights of liberty, of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, which are enforceable in a court of law. Liberty, as conceived by the preamble, is not absolute but qualified. It means that liberty does not mean license to do whatever one likes. Instead, it has to be enjoyed within the limitations mentioned in the Constitution. Equality. The term equality means the absence of special privileges for any section of society, and the provision of adequate opportunities for all individuals without any discrimination. The preamble secures for all citizens of India equality of status and opportunity in three dimensions. Civic equality, the fundamental rights under the right to equality, Article 14 to 18, seek to ensure civil equality. Political equality, the two provisions of the Constitution related to elections, as mentioned in Article 325 and Article 326, seek to ensure political equality. Economic equality, the directive principles of state policy, as mentioned in Article 39, directs the state to secure men's and women's equal rights to an adequate means of livelihood along with equal pay for equal work. This seeks to ensure economic equality. Fraternity. The term fraternity emphasizes the importance of fostering a sense of brotherhood and unity among all citizens. The preamble declares that fraternity has to assure two things: the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. The phrase dignity of the individual signifies that the Constitution ensures material betterment and recognizes every person's sacred individuality. The phrase unity and integrity of the nation embraces both the psychological and territorial dimensions of national integration, aims at overcoming hindrances to national integration like communalism, regionalism, casteism, linguism, secessionism, and so on. Significance of Preamble of Indian Constitution. The preamble of the Indian Constitution embodies the basic philosophy and fundamental values on which the Constitution is based. Thus, it provides a glimpse of the Constitution of India. As the soul and key to the Constitution, it provides a guiding framework for the interpretation and implementation of the various provisions of the Constitution. It serves as the guiding light for governance, providing a moral compass for policymakers and lawmakers. It reminds them of the overarching goals of justice, equality, liberty, and fraternity that they must strive to achieve in their decision-making processes. It symbolizes the unity and diversity of India by acknowledging the plurality of its citizens and their diverse backgrounds, languages, cultures, and religions. It serves as an inspiration for citizens, reminding them of their rights, duties, and responsibilities towards the nation. It instills a sense of patriotism, civic duty, and commitment to the ideals of justice, equality, and fraternity among the populace.